Hello and welcome to the reading for this new moon in Virgo happening at 3:39 a.m. South African Standard Time on the 15th of September 2023 and at 9:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the 14th of September 2023. Before you even go any further, wherever you're taking this in right now, maybe pause the video to take a deep breath. Take a deep breath in through your nose and just let yourself feel that breath course through your body, and then let it out through your mouth and make a sound as you do so. And repeat that cycle as many times as you need to, just to let that panic ebb for a second, so we can talk about what this moment represents for you. This is Sangoma Society. I am Makhosi Nomabutho, and I do these readings in the capacity of Ubunyangaban. I'm an initiated indigenous healer, and this is a reading for the person who knows themselves to be affected by the movements of the astral bodies and wants to know how they can better utilize the varying transits as we move through the zodiac. The new moon is entering Virgo, which means that Virgo is the sign in which the moon and the sun will be at the same time over the course of the next 3 days. Yo! Virgo, the virgin, the worker bee, the earth sign, the harvester, the water carrier. We all associate Virgo with the clarity of purpose and work ethic, excellence, intention. And that might sound like a moment wherein you want to rush forward and put down your to-do list and bash your way through it. But this is a moment where it would benefit you to consider, as Virgo's ruler, Mercury, stations direct just a few hours after the moon enters Virgo. Give yourself the opportunity to consider, what and how does this moment serve to clarify for you about what you don't want to take forward, what's not going to be in your future. Venus stationed direct recently and brought with it a lot of realizations. And these retrogrades moving the way that they've been moving, Jupiter just stationed retrograde right after Venus went direct, and then Mercury stationed retrograde and is already going direct again. Such a quick transit. All of the emotional whiplash, the way in which it's yanked us back and forced us to see things from the perspective of our inner child for a second, forced us to see certain patterns that we have carried up until now subconsciously. This moment, this new moon, presents the moment in which we can consider what of those things we're just going to put down as we step forward. Yes, new moons are an incredible time to make your intentions. And absolutely, this moment in time serves as an opportunity for that. But as opposed to rushing into a list of intentions right now with this new moon, remember that we have the equinox coming up just 7 days after this moon, 8 days after this moon. So that's the best time to make your intentions. Give yourself the breathing room of that 7 days. Right now, lean into what you'd like to let go. And I know that the emotions are so charged with this moon. It is so intense with this new moon. It's like that moment wherein if you were watching a horror movie and the group is just near the edge of the woods, like they're almost out, and you're sitting in your seat and you're like, oh my God, just keep going, you're almost there. But then because there is nothing in the scenery that's changed for them, nothing is showing any sign of forward movement. It just feels stagnant. Like it feels as though the loop is not closing. It's just a spiral. And that can be so frustrating. And it's that moment where you would think, oh God, it's time to just throw in the towel, or it's this or it's that. But this moon says to us, you're almost through the woods. This new moon in Virgo represents a moment where we need to trust the work that we have done up until now and build on that and keep going in the direction that we have been moving, where we know that we've been doing the work, where the insights have been there, even though we've been putting in the work and maybe not seeing what the work is returning on the investment that we've made. We have Mercury, Virgo's ruler, going direct just a few hours after the moon enters Virgo, joining the sun. And there are multiple aspects that will be playing out at that time that say, breathe and trust and keep going. One step in front of the other. Don't stack your plate with new things just yet. Let the goals rest for a second. Just feel what there is to feel in your body. If you feel tired, it's okay. There has been some weight to this moon. And I can't quite tell you. I think perhaps it is that we've been coming into the moon from a place where the ruler is in retrograde. But I have felt the emotional weight of this moon, and it goes hand in hand with the realizations that we made that came to the surface with the last full moon. And this is the moment in which we just need to lend ourselves grace. We need to give ourselves the community, the compassion, the consideration that we need. This is one of those moments where I feel like the heart is just aching for someone to say, even though that still needs to be worked on, and we're not quite there with that, and we seem to be behind on this, and we've done far better than we could have imagined at that, and oh my goodness, what are we going to do with this grand new thing in front of us now? It's okay. It's all going to be okay. You're right where you need to be. Those realizations and the ways in which they're starting to make you feel as though you need to take some kind of action around them, it's time to listen to them. It is. And where there's conversations required, I do say this, and I cannot stop saying it because it is the guidance. Mercury is going to station direct, but remain in the post-shadow period for about 2.5 weeks. So till about that first week of October. And it can be really tricky to have conversations during such a transit. And the reason why is that typically people experience conversations as a power struggle about right and wrong and control and submission. And if you're trying to have an exchange in which you clarify how you feel and you want to hear how another person feels, it might not be an easy conversation to have at this moment if you don't have the adequate amount of trust. If you can see the gaps within the relationship as Venus retrograde has shown, if you can see the ways in which it doesn't support where you want to go, as perhaps this most recent Jupiter retrograde might be beginning to show you, then you might need a little bit more cosmic compassion in order to address some of these things. And so it is for that reason that I say, perhaps if there's a tricky conversation around what it is that has come to light for you, that it's okay to continue sitting with it. And if it's burning you, if it feels really pressing to you, then that for me is even more reason to sit with it. Because the thing that we tend to do when we're highly emotional is we lose certain perspectives and we struggle to hear the other person. So allow yourself to process what it is in you that is making this emotion feel as charged as it feels for you, so that by the time you have the conversation, it is not so much about just being heard, but about the actual exchange in an equanimous and egalitarian way, in a way in which you hear as much as you are heard. We do have the African New Year coming up just 8 days after this new moon on the 23rd of September with that equinox, and that is the moment in which I would say lean into revising those goals, lean into those intentions, really lean into what you want to create, especially for us here in the Southern Hemisphere, because this is our spring equinox, and that is speaking to, you know, what we want to start, you know, like that intention that we really want to see through as we approach the next solstice at the end of the year, when we will see the harvest of the first fruit. But for the people in the Northern Hemisphere, for them, this is harvest. And you may want to set your intentions around how it is that you want to use the harvest that you have at this moment for the season that is coming ahead. Mars in Libra is going to be opposing Chiron in Aries on the 24th of September. And that is just going to be the first of many Mars transits that are coming up during Libra season. Mars in Libra wants you to pick your battles. So again, a reiteration of what I said about, you know, any difficult conversations that you want to have. Mars in Libra really wants you to consider all sides. And when we're talking about Chiron in Aries, we're looking at those sore spots, those wounds, those, like, where we need to make a move now in order for us to heal. But I think as much as there's some tension in an opposition, I think there's a really beautiful opportunity to consider for ourselves what it is that we really want to address. Like, what we can't let this year slide out of our hands without us giving it the time that it needs in our lives. And Jupiter being retrograde in Taurus at this time is just that opportunity where, if this retrograde season or this year has just been a challenge and not really feeling like flow, when we see Jupiter go retrograde, it can mean a change in our luck, a change in fortunes. So that's not a bad thing. It's a retrograde that I think could actually be good if you need a reversal in fortune. But more than anything, if there's one thing I want you to keep in mind with this new moon in Virgo, is that don't add things onto your plate right now. Hold out for the equinox and set your intentions. Then, yes, there's plenty of intentional energy in the air right now. Use it to clarify the reason why you're intending what you're intending. And then when the equinox comes, let that be the time you use to clarify what and how. But right now, contemplate the why. Allow yourself to put some things down. Don't just carry endlessly. For us, here at Sangoma Society, we're quickly approaching the final 2 weeks of the special edition of Pivoting into Purpose that we have been doing with this eclipse season, and it's been quite a time. So by the time that we enter the equinox, we enter the new year, the African New Year, we will have a completely comprehensive, new and aligned plan for walking in our purpose. If you'd like to take advantage of that equinox energy and you want to lean into it for yourself, we invite you to join the Making a Miracle Masterclass, which will be online and available for you to access completely autonomously. It's up and available right now. You can sign up and you can begin to do the work for yourself. Please be reminded that the Making a Miracle Masterclass is quite in-depth, although it does not involve any work regarding candle work and calling in the ancestors, and it is really just very comprehensive and practical work, looking at what it is that you apply yourself to and why, where you spend your time, what it is that you're trying to get by spending your time in that way. It is the way that it is because it serves the purpose of giving you a practical approach to your planning. Because as much as there are things that might be influenced by the movements of the astral bodies and the nature of your karma and all of your inner child wounds, your limiting beliefs, all of these things culminate in how we show up and the actions that we take. And when we quantify and assess how we've acted in a very practical way, it really, really gives us the perspective that we need in order to plan better with more compassion for ourselves and the practical ways in which we need to show up for ourselves emotionally and materially, as well as spiritually. I am Makhosi Nomabutho. This has been the reading for the new moon in Virgo, and I am looking forward to seeing you inside Sangoma Society. Until next time, Kukai.